We can now speak to Feras Hussein, Head of Programs at Orange NGO, a local partner of international children's charity Street Child. Now, Feras has just returned from working in a number of the hardest hit areas by the earthquake in Syria and joins us from Gaziantep in Turkey. Feras, this is an incredibly difficult time for people. Just a week ago, there was that moment that suddenly changed the lives of millions of people. We were hearing in that report just then how people are still being rescued from the rubble. Is that a rescue effort that you're able to take part in, and how difficult are you finding it if you are?
Hello, good morning. We came from Syria, and we are going to head back again to Syria to contribute to the other efforts of the NGOs to provide whatever can be provided to survive lives there. I can say, talking about the rescue efforts, anything can be provided there can be considered as a rescue, because providing a bottle of water or a hot meal during this freezing cold weather can be considered as a rescue. But on the other hand, this is considering the desperate, and I can say the impossible situation in that area. Talking about the rescue efforts being made, there is no enough, I can say, tools and machinery that can be used to continue the rescue efforts. The only, I can say, team who has the capability and the ability to continue any kind of rescue efforts is the white helmets, and they are only prepared to respond to a specific location out of the bombardment. But on the other hand, now we have a complete disaster covering the entire area of the Northwest. So, all the teams that landed previously in Turkey was directed to continue the rescue efforts in Turkey. And this is, of course, something that's required considering the high number of people affected with this disaster. But on the other hand, the disaster is getting worse and worse in Syria, because people started to dig with their, I can say, bare hands, and something very simple shovels, with their farming shovels, just to ensure that, just an attempt to try to rescue the people under the rubble.
It sounds like an almost impossible task when you get there on the ground. But in terms of raising money and being able to deliver aid, are you now getting that access that you wanted?
The point, it's not about only the access to the money and the funding. It's more about the access to the in-kind, I can say, the supplies that can be delivered there, because the area in Northwest is more relying on the aids being delivered through the cross-border program. But currently, since Turkey itself as a country was highly affected with this disaster, I can tell that the entire supply chain has interrupted. So there are too many, I can say, challenges to ensure that sufficient amounts of supplies will be delivered there. Of course, there were several attempts by the UN and also by the other NGOs to provide and to deliver whatever supplies that can be provided there. But the need is huge, and the ability to ensure that there is a kind of continuous supply chain between two sides of the border is not enough to supply what's required.
Right.
Once again, it's a complete disaster, and people are still in the streets, and even the buildings that we are talking about, it was subjected to huge amount of bombardment during the previous years, but now the disaster came. So imagine the situation and how many buildings were destroyed because of this earthquake. So,
and you say that people are in the streets, and many of those are children, and they are incredibly vulnerable in a position like this. What kind of risks are they facing, and what have you found?
Not only the videos and the photos can tell the story and what's happening there. This is something that myself, my family, and also all my friends and relatives were subjected to at 4 a.m. going down to the streets in the freezing cold weather, just trying to hold my child to ensure that she will be protected protected from the freezing cold. But look at too many children who became orphans because they managed to go outside of the building, but the building was collapsing during their escape. So their parents were stuck inside, and maybe they were dead, or even if they still alive, there was no appropriate rescue efforts to get them out from under the rebels. And Now imagine the situation with all the children that have nothing, absolutely nothing, and also for the babies. I mean, there is no electricity, no I can say health services, and I mean, it's a complete disaster. This is the appropriate word that might describe the situation there. But like particularly for the children, this is something that cannot be even described.
Well, you have described it very clearly, Feras Hussein. Thank you very much for joining us from Turkey, but also sharing your experiences there on the ground in Syria as well. Thank you.
Thank you.